Dear Mr. A&R, we all struggling artists. Realize the world is cold, but we came here to spark it. Swimming little guppies in a sea full of sharks. It's gonna take a miracle to not end up hard.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Six with Ian and Thomas.
Hi.
Got a lot of big news. Some really close games, some really big games. Top teams played pretty well. Got Champions League news. What else do we have? There's something else I'm not remembering right now.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. I think starting with the Premier League, the top seven really haven't changed. It's still City, Liverpool, Chelsea up top, 2 points between them. Although Arsenal did drop points this week, so we should go over that first.
Okay. It was a good match.
It was a very, very good match. And Crystal Palace definitely deserved that point. It was 2 penalties that they scored, but they played very well throughout.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match.
And you get 2 penalties for you, and you convert them both. You deserve those 2 goals. It's just how it is. And the fact that after Granit Xhaka scored a fantastic free kick,
that was a ripper,
it was
man,
ridiculous. And then to give it away with the foul in the box in the 83rd minute for the second penalty, kind of canceled out his game. He had a pretty good game. I'm actually happy with how Granit Xhaka's been playing recently. He seems to have kind of tempered down a bit. He's a little bit more mature. Obviously, he's still got a little bit more to learn, but I think under Unai Emery, he's thriving a little bit more, which is really good. And Crystal Palace has been playing really well for, basically the entire season. They just can't get any goals.
Yeah, in fact, these are the first 2 goals they've scored at home this season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty tough, especially on your home fans. When they go to watch a match at home and you're not scoring goals at home. Not necessarily losing every match, but you gotta get something in the net.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that they've got 2 goals, so now they know they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get it done.
But I think if Crystal Palace keep playing the way they are, and they hone that final third, I think they'll be dangerous. They can definitely push for more points against big teams and get wins when they need wins. But we'll have to wait and see what Roy Hodgson can do. Brighton Hove and Wolverhampton was a relatively close game. 2 teams that have been 2 mid-table teams that have been performing really well recently. Glenn Murray with another goal for Brighton, and ended up being the only goal. Which is, I guess, kind of lucky for him, because if he were playing in America still, he would not be allowed to play this week after his head injury. There's just the difference between the concussion protocols. But it was a pretty good goal, and it got them the win against a team who's been on pretty good form recently, and in Wolverhampton. Good to see Brighton are still pushing for points, pushing for good wins, and they are currently sitting 1 point behind Wolves after the week, in 11th. What the Bournemouth Fulham game?
I thought that was a good game. It wasn't fantastic, but it was entertaining.
It was even, except it wasn't.
Okay.
It was even in the fact that the both teams played really well, but Fulham just again, they couldn't. They don't have an attacking third.
Yeah, their final third is really just missing. I mean, everything else seemed like it was relatively in place.
Mhm.
I mean, they're a bottom table team. And I'm not slighting them with that. I mean, it's just where they're at. They fight relegation season in and season out, and and they get promoted and then they get relegated, and it's just the fact of the matter. But yeah, like you said, their final third is really just it's a giant piece of the puzzle they just don't have. They're just not finishing. Bournemouth is a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, just there's no two ways about it. They are a good team. They're well coached. They're well disciplined, and they fight. They fight hard. They're not the the fluid, silky football like City or Chelsea or Liverpool, but they know how to battle.
Exactly.
They know how to swing a big hammer. Is really what it comes
And
down to.
it's helping them get points.
Yeah.
They won this game 3-0, and they were the first one was a penalty, but it was definitely a deserved penalty, and the 2 goals were absolutely fantastic. And it needs to be said, the link-ups between Callum Wilson, David Brooks, and Ryan Fraser
Yes.
are absolutely amazing. They are playing with, I mean, just an absolute threat on that top 3, because, I mean, they're scoring goals and getting points. I don't think Bournemouth have really had a huge test yet.
I mean, they're in the top 6 though. So I don't. Let me see. Where is it? It'll show me here. Again, I'm looking at FotMob, so shout out to those guys. If you guys are wanting to sponsor us, look us up. Not really. Their last 5 matches was Crystal Palace, Watford, Southampton, Fulham, and Norwich City.
It seems like their biggest test so far has been Chelsea, and they lost that game 2-0. They lost against Burnley 4-0, which seems kind of surprising.
Well, Burnley's not a slack team either.
No, every once in a while Burnley will come out and surprise people, and that's
they're in 15th right now. Where last year they finished in the top 5. Is that right?
yes.
Yeah. So they've dropped a ton of points at the early part of this season, but don't count Sean Dyche out.
No.
He knows his way around a football pitch, and he knows how to get the best out of his players. Mm-hmm. That's another thing with Eddie Howe. I mean he's got that. Yeah. He's got that just a really good football brain. He knows how to put the pieces together. And right now, listen, so they haven't had a big test right now, but they're winning the points that they're
exactly.
The contention right now is, I mean, even if they play Crystal Palace, they're getting points. And that's it's stuff like that that's going to make the difference down the road. So when they come up against City and and they probably get bashed 5-0 or 5-1 something like that,
they've got points to fall back on.
They've got points to fall back on, and that's smart play. And that's a smart tactic.
See, right now they have 20 points in 6th place. They're a point behind Tottenham. They are 6 points behind first place City. That's 2 games. That's 2 wins. That's insane.
Yep. Which is better than Manchester United.
We'll talk about that.
Better than Everton.
Yeah. But I mean, it goes to show you that a team with the right coaching and the right players can absolutely turn out to be fantastic. It's not always about the money. But a team with a lot of money can still do a lot of damage, much like Liverpool did. Liverpool invested very heavily this offseason, and it's paying off for them. It was working really well last season, but it's paying off even more for them this season. They got a 4-1 win over Cardiff. And it was just it honestly seemed from the get-go that Cardiff didn't really have a chance. Liverpool were just passing circles around them.
It was the match stats on that one. I don't even remember who scored the Cardiff goal. It was Callum Patterson in the 77th minute. But from there, Xherdan Shaqiri got his first season goal for Liverpool, and then almost immediately after that, Sadio Mane got his second of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm looking at, I'm going to see. Yeah, there we go. The ball possession was 80% to 20%, 19-2 on shots, 16-1 on chances created. Passes 727 to 122. This is kind of to me this kind of leans a little bit towards Cardiff, because it was 0-4 on offsides. That tells me that Cardiff was at least trying.
Mm-hmm.
And they put some stuff together. They just got caught offsides. But total shots was 19-2. And then the final score was 4-1. So it was really tough for Cardiff. But when I watched that match, I noticed one thing about Cardiff: the players, their heads were never down, their shoulders weren't slumped, they weren't walking around yelling at each other. They were frustrated, but they didn't put themselves out of the game.
No.
They made Liverpool put them out of the game. Which happened with relative ease for Liverpool, but
that's a testament to the fact of Neil Warnock.
Neil Warnock.
Couldn't remember his last name. We saw we saw like a little special on him. Kind of a little biography. And it seems like the players really, really love playing under him. Are they the best team in the world? No. But they understand that. They say, they feel, he makes them feel like they're, the best players in the world based on, their coaching. And it just, and, sometimes it's what it is. If you can keep your morale up, it will make you a better team. Will it make you win games? Not necessarily. But it will make you play better overall. Yeah. And you'll have more fun doing it.
Yeah, and that eventually will translate into winning
exactly.
games.
So, I think if Cardiff were to keep him at the helm, it would translate into better results eventually.
On the downside to that, during this little, it was on NBC Sports Gold. It was one of the halftime presentations. They do a little couple minute clip of a player or a coach or whatever. And this week they were just talked about Neil Warnock, and he has a reputation for getting teams promoted, but he also has a reputation for not keeping them promoted. So he's got the ability to get teams promoted. He just hasn't found that bridge to where they can actually make a Premier League stand and stay in the Premier League for a season or two. And could that happen with Cardiff? Who knows? Where are they on the table?
They're 15th right now.
Yeah, they're in 15th. So they're
they're
not in 15th. They are in 17th.
Sorry.
They're outside the relegation zone only on a 3-goal differential. And it's still pretty early. We're 10 games in. We've still got 28 matches to play. So we'll see. But yeah, I like I said, I didn't see, like some of the lower table teams, you see them, and they know they're gonna get beat. Their shoulders slumped, their heads down, they're just kind of plodding around the pitch. Cardiff never really stopped playing. Even though they were down 2-0 and then they were down 2-1. So they're right back in the game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last 10 minutes of the match, the last 6 minutes of the match, Liverpool kind of put it away. but it was, and I'm trying to give props to Cardiff. I mean, they're a lower table team, but they played well against a team that quite possibly could make a run for the league championship. So good for them. But
Southampton Newcastle, it was a very even match. It ended up being 0-0. And both teams played well. They played smart. I will say the one fact about the match that stunned me was that there was one yellow card, and it was in the 90th plus 3 minute. So I mean, both teams played well. They I can't remember, where are they on the table exactly. Newcastle's in the relegation zone. They're 19th, and Southampton's in 16th.
2 points ahead of Cardiff.
So I mean, they're two teams that are battling for points, and they both got a point for that game. They split the points, and it was a relatively even match, and it showed, especially in the scoreline. Watford came out blazing again. Good to see. They're getting points again. It looked like Ben Foster was man of the match for that game, which is weird. But Watford again are playing really well this season. A lot like Bournemouth, in the fact that they're usually like a mid-table team, and they're getting really good points when they're available. And that's what it's all about. Huddersfield are kind of struggling again this season, and Watford took advantage, got that 3-0 win, with the goals from Roberto Pereira. I can't pronounce his name. Gerard Deulofeu, my boy, and Isaac Success, and three really good goals, 2 in the first 20 minutes. So they closed that game out pretty early. So good to see Watford still performing. Leicester and West Ham was played on Saturday. West Ham finally kind of getting back into the groove of things. They very, very nearly won this game. They had a goal in the 30th minute, and they held it all the way to the 89th minute, when Leicester scored with a fantastic shot, and it deflected. Unfortunately, there's just nothing that the West Ham keeper could do. Unfortunately, we have some sad news after the match, as many of you in the football world have heard.
It was literally within an hour of the match ending.
The owner and 4 other people left in a helicopter from the King Power Stadium, and Vishal Sravadanaprabha unfortunately did pass in that, along with all 4 of the other people in that accident. And Leicester fans are still mourning right now. He was a man that did fantastic things to the club when he bought it in 2010. Leicester was the team had nearly $100 million in debt, or pounds in debt. He cleared that debt and brought them to the Premier League when they won their first title in 2015-16. So he's an absolute legend to that city.
And apparently it's not just the football club. It's Leicester City in general, because of what he's done, for not just the club but for the city, so it's a pretty big tragedy. I mean, he was got on the helicopter or the north end of the stadium after the match, and they were going to fly to the airport, where he was going to get on his private jet and I guess fly home or whatever for the weekend, whatever. Immediately after takeoff, the helicopter crashed and burst into flames, and all 5 people on board were killed. There were no survivors. Leicester has a match in Cardiff coming up. Their Premier League match is in Cardiff, where typically, I guess, from the East Midlands to Wales, they would fly, but they have elected to not fly for this match. They're going to take a bus or buses, kind of in memoriam of Vishal Sravadana Prabha, and just and the other people on the plane or the helicopter. So it's kind of a tough. It was a tough weekend. And I hope that the players for Leicester City can kind of put that in the forefront of their mind, where they can use that as a catalyst to move forward, instead of just kind of freezing them. That's a lot to take in. I don't know how I would react if I was a professional footballer and all of a sudden I found out the guy who signs my paycheck is dead. That'll take the wind out of your sails, I think. But again, these are professionals. Some of them are world class players, and they've got their coaching staff is still in place, and hopefully they have the right words and the right motivation to kind of propel these players forward, and not let them fall into a funk, or a rut. So I mean, but our thoughts and prayers and our good vibes go out to Mr. Sravadana Prabha's family, and the other 4 members of that crew, and to the Leicester Football Club, the players and coaching staff, as well as the citizens of Leicester City. So we're thinking of all those people. So
and just a little bit more information. Their game yesterday against Southampton, their EFL Cup match, has been postponed.
Yes.
Just in honor, so that just so that the team can kind of get back together.
Yeah, they've got some pieces to pick up right now. And it's so yeah, I knew they'd rescheduled that game, or postponed it to when, I don't remember, but I like the fact that they've decided, okay, it's been a week, but we're going to go to Cardiff, and hopefully things turn out well. So.
Burnley Chelsea. Thankfully, was a very good game for Chelsea. Unfortunately, as a Chelsea fan, I know that for some reason those are the games that Chelsea struggles the most. Is often against the teams that aren't performing the best. But they came to play. It was a 4-0 win. Goals from 4 different people. Over Murata got another fantastic goal. Good to see he's out of his scoring slump right now. Ross Barkley has his 3rd in 3 games. Good to see he's finally fitting into the Chelsea squad.
And I think he had 2 or 3 assists.
He had the assist for Alvaro Morata, and the assist for the goal from Willian, the 3rd goal.
Yeah.
And Ruben Loftus-Cheek got his 4th in 2 appearances in all competitions. He scored a hat trick against Bate in Europa League just this past week as well. So good to see he's performing really well. I'm very happy with how Maurizio Sarri is utilizing some of the younger, sometimes underused players, and still getting fantastic performances. Because both Olivier Giroud and Eden Hazard are out with injury right now. He's making up ground by using these younger players, and giving them a chance and basically saying, hey, you perform well, you'll get more time on the pitch. Go out there and have at them. And they are. It's working. So happy to see that's the case for the Blues this season, and hopefully they can keep it up. They are 12 games undefeated right now. They are undefeated throughout this entire season so far. So hopefully we can keep that up a little bit longer. United Everton. Hopefully, let's see. Looking at the timer.
We're good.
Maybe no. Maybe Paul Pogba was done with another penalty by now. Not sure.
That was the weirdest run up. You know, I mean, now it was a good goal. You know, it was a good penalty.
It was a fantastic save.
Yes, yeah.
But it kind of, and I remember looking at it. So
yeah, Jordan Pickford is by far. Everybody, you know, we talk about it all the time. David De Gea, for some reason, keeps getting the label the best keeper in England, best keeper in the world, and I'm here to tell you, David De Gea is absolutely the opposite of either one of those. Mm-hmm. He's not. He's garbage. He gets lucky.
He's a decent keeper, but he's not. But he's not even the best. Close to
he's not the best. Jordan Pickford is one of the best. I put him up there with Ter Stegen and.
Allison. I would say Courtois, but we'll go over that later as well.
You know, but Jordan Pickford made a great save. Mm-hmm. You know, and he just got unlucky on the follow up.
Well, and I will say the reason it bounced back the way it did is because he dove so far, he had to reach back with his hand to save it. Yeah. He is that athletic. He can dive too far past the save.
He's powerful.
Mm-hmm. And it was unlucky. And honestly, looking back at the foul for the penalty, it should not have been a foul.
It should not have ever happened.
It was a bad call. And that's one of the things that eventually, because I think eventually VAR will be introduced into English Premier League. Eventually it'll happen.
I mean, you know, and I don't understand. Because I've heard arguments against it. You know, VAR is going to ruin the game. I mean, and I don't understand that argument. I'm not discounting it. It's just simply because I don't understand it. I think it's going to improve the game. Mm-hmm. One, you're going to have how many yellow cards do we see this weekend, you know, for simulation, for diving? Mm-hmm. More than one. There were at least two. You know, so VAR is going to eliminate that, which is great. That's got to go. It literally is ruining the game, especially in the United States. Americans are not going to start watching more and more football if people keep faking. They're just not going to. They're not going to tolerate it. So they just won't turn on the game. So they have to eliminate that, and VAR is going to do that almost immediately. And then, you know, when you've got, you know, like this, you know, it is. I'm not necessarily saying that there was simulation. It was. He oversold it. There was no contact. I mean, there was. My opinion. Of course,
there was contact, but he had gotten the ball first.
Yeah, it was. You know, at speed. You know, and that's what these referees have. They have it. You know, they have one chance to look at it at live speed, and only from one angle. You know, they don't have the luxury that, you know, we do sitting on the couch. You know, seeing it in slow motion from 3 different angles and things like that. And, oh man, that's not really what happened. You know, but VAR would definitely take that out of the game, and that's a good thing, because that it didn't necessarily. It did change the outcome of the game.
It did.
I mean, because it would have been a 1-1 draw, instead of a United win, which is, you know, you want fairness, you know. And now I understand, you know, with these players, you know, they're taught, you know, from a young age, and, you know, these guys are in their 20s and 30s. You play to the whistle and you let the referee call the game. You know, the referee called a penalty, nobody argued it, you know, except Everton, obviously. You know, and that's what they're supposed to do. I get that. I'm not opposed to that at all. But when you can get the referee to have the opportunity to look at, you know, these plays and these fouls and whatnot in slow motion from different angles, and then make a better judgment, then you're going to have a more natural game. Mm-hmm. You know, and yeah, you know, that penalty should not have happened. It would have been a 1-1 draw, or whatever. It would have been a 1-1 draw at the best. So VAR is something, in my opinion, that is going to be good for the game.
Yes.
It's just like the goal line technology a couple of years ago when they first instituted that. You know, people were like, "Oh, were you kidding me?" You know,
there was, I don't remember whose goal it was. It was like 3 millimeters over the line.
Yeah, and goal line technology awarded the goal because the ball crossed even on the, you know, the stop frame animation that they use in the goal line technology, you still couldn't just look at it and say, this is a goal. The goal line technology, if the whole ball crosses the whole line, which is what is necessary to award a goal, you could not see it in the stop frame. But goal line technology measured, okay, the whole ball has crossed the whole line, and the referee's watch vibrated, and he awarded the goal. It looked like a magnificent save at first. Who was it? I don't remember where it was. But it looked at first like a magnificent save. And then all of a sudden, the referee awarded the goal, which means his watch vibrated, and so he awarded the goal based on that technology. VAR is going to improve the game, in my opinion. If you've got a different opinion, I want to hear it. I want to hear the arguments. I'm not saying that if you don't like VAR, there's something wrong with you. But I need to hear your argument, and you need to convince me. So change my mind.
The last game of the week was actually kind of lackluster. Tottenham City. It was actually a fairly even match. Riyad Mahrez scored a goal in the 6th minute.
And then it was just kind of snooze fest from there.
It kind of was. City just didn't impress us like they usually do.
Well, and I think that they brought Kevin De Bruyne on late because he's coming back from injury.
Well, and even that, he didn't really perform that well.
Well, and I think it's because he's newly back from injury, and I think he's just not up to speed yet. You could tell the thought processes are there, but the muscle memory's gone. And I think you give him another match, and Kevin De Bruyne will be back. Because when they brought him on, it was 1-0 City. They brought Kevin De Bruyne on, and my first comment, Thomas was like, "Oh, it's about to get real." And even the commentators mentioned, when you think you have a chance, they bring on Kevin De Bruyne. That's how devastating this cat can be. But yeah, he kind of he lacked a little bit of the polish that we normally see from him. I think he'll be back before too long. But it was really not. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I really thought City was going to rip Tottenham to pieces. And honestly, I was kind of hoping for that. But
in the back of your mind, you weren't, because that means that Liverpool's catching up on goal differential. But
that's true.
One last game that I want to go over, and it's not Premier League, but it is one of the biggest games in the world every year. El Clasico happened over the week, and it was fantastic, every way, shape, and form. The final
for half of the fans.
It's true. He considers himself a Real Madrid fan. I'm still trying to change that. It ended up being 5-1 Real Madrid.
No, it was 5-1 Barcelona.
That's what I meant. But it just Felipe Coutinho got his first ever El Clasico goal. And Luis Suarez scored a hat trick in celebration of his third child's birth. For that fact, with Alex Vidal? No, yes, I can't remember. There's like 2 different Vidals, and I can't remember. He's honestly not that.
Anyway,
but it kind of shows Arturo Vidal. Sorry about that. Scored the 5th goal, with Marcelo scoring in between the 2nd and 3rd Barca goal. And it kind of goes to show the struggles that Real Madrid are having right now. Courtois is not performing as well as he was at Chelsea. And it actually led to Julian Lopetegui, however you say
that guy.
He got sacked on Monday, replaced by an Argentinian coach that I've actually never heard of before. I don't remember his name either. But hopefully he can bring a little bit more to Real Madrid.
And he's gonna have to find some pieces to fill in the hole
exactly
that Cristiano Ronaldo left, because the style of play that Real Madrid played revolved almost solely around Ciron being on the pitch. Mm-hmm. He's never going to be on the pitch for Real Madrid again. So they have got to find something different. They have to find a new tactic. And that's something that Barcelona has done They've built a team around Lionel Messi, but at the same time knowing that he's not always going to be on the pitch. In
Like
fact,
he
they've even
wasn't.
taken him off the pitch and found other ways. Giving more responsibility to Luis Suarez, letting Coutinho do his thing. And even when Neymar left, it really wasn't that big of a loss to them. It's when Messi was off the pitch that things seemed to kind of flounder a bit. They found a way around that, and at this point, Real Madrid has never looked forward to Ronaldo leaving. I guess it just was never an option in their minds.
It caught them by surprise, I think.
Sure. And I think it's caught the rest of the team by surprise. They have good players on their team. They got Luka Modric, they got Marcelo. They've got these guys who can play. They're just not used to having to finish.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to, someone's going to have to step up and take those responsibilities. And I think with a team of the caliber that Real Madrid is, they will. It may take them a season. It cost them a head coach. But they'll figure it out. But yeah,
That's all I have.
that's all I have.
Take it out.
Finger guns. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is Inside the Six with Ian and Thomas. Special thanks to our good friend Macrophonic MC. He lets us use his music for our little show here. Check out the links below there so you can check out his music. He's a very talented artist. You will not be disappointed. We want you to subscribe, click the buttons, click the bells, say yes, all those things. So you get to watch our show. It's also going to be on Google Play and iTunes, so with audio only. So if you can't sit down for 30 minutes or so and watch, plug it in so you can have the audio only. You can still listen. There's very little visual content other than the fact that our shining, smiling faces are here. Ding! And special thanks to Thomas, who does our editing and production. He does a good job with all that stuff, considering when we first started this, neither one of us had any clue what we were doing.
I still have no idea what I'm doing.
But it looks great every week. Check out the t-shirt shop. Check out the sticker shop.
Today is the last day you can get this.
Last day for the breast cancer awareness. After today, that shirt, that design will no longer be available. I don't know why I just went Jamaican, but anyway, Jamaican me crazy. So that's our show, Inside the Six. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week with more Premier League action.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Dear Mr. A&R, we all struggling artists. Realize the world is cold, but we came here to spark it. Swimming little guppies in a sea full of sharks. It's gonna take a miracle to not end up harmed.